Good afternoon. I'm Ed Ullman from Wellness RX, the pharmacy on the mountaintop community of Tannersville, New York. Today we're going to have the privilege of having a wonderful interview with Nate Jones. And Nate is our new superintendent of the Tannersville Hunter Central Schools. And we have been really trying to see if we could get this interview just to take a time out. First, we're both fully vaccinated. So this is the beginning of us being able to celebrate and come back into high activity. Here at Wellness RX, we just completed a week of 230 vaccinations, and we just had a fun time. People laughed. It was great. We were able to work as an overall team. We had 12 volunteers. We had the immunization clinic over at the Villa Facilla, and then we had it here at our wellness center. We were able to really go and help get the workers, individuals who are at our hotels, the restaurants, they work at the supermarkets, or they're in the trades. So I thought we did a very, very good job. And this carried on because we were very thrilled that our school system was able to get everyone vaccinated. And then, as we're going to talk today, it's about the movement of our students and our educators back into daily communication with each other. So welcome very much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
The last time I was thinking about this is when, I think it was almost 5 years ago, you had the twins.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, so it was 5 years ago.
And they were premature, if I recall.
Yeah.
And everything else. Well, what's that been like for you?
Well, also at the same time that I had the twins is when I took the elementary principal role.
Okay.
So they were born in March, premature. They came home in April, and July 1st I started the elementary principal. So it's just been a juggling act with having young kids going into administration. Thankfully, my wife has been so supportive of my role in the school district, and she's really helped a lot pick up the slack to make sure that I'm able to put the time in that I need there, but I make sure that I carve the time out to be with my family. So last 5 years it's been wild. It's been fun. A lot of great memories. We sit and look at pictures and smile, and things are good. Things are good on the home front.
One of the things that's fascinating, and I'm going to be celebrating my 44th year of marriage on the 14th. None of us are going to be successful without a partnership to help us. And so you as a family able to adjust and adapt, allowing you to grow with your career and to be of service to others. And my wife has given me that same support.
Yeah, that's great.
Tell me a little first about your background.
So, Ed, I graduated from SUNY Cortland in 2006, and I grew up in Washington County, small town, rural America, Hartford, very similar to Hunter Tannersville, but more farmland, And when I finished, it was December of 2006, I went back, moved with my parents, and did some construction work, substituted, and Dr. Sweeney, who was coming down here from Hartford, he had been the principal there. And he was never my principal, but I knew him from substituting, and he knew that I graduated with a PE degree, and he came down to...
That's physical ed, isn't it?
Yes, physical education.
So when you told me where you went to school, I had a thought process.
So physical education. So I had a really unique, fun story for how I ended up in Hunter Tannersville. He became the superintendent the same year that they were looking for an elementary PE teacher.
Okay.
And he had called me up and said, "Nate, I think I have a spot down here for you. Do you want to work? Send me your information." I said, "What is it?" And he said, "It's elementary physical education." And at the time, I really wanted to be in the middle school, high school. That was what I thought my niche was going to be. And I didn't jump on the job, moving away from where you just spent the last 23 years to move somewhere new and not in. So I applied to other positions, and there was really no PE jobs. It's a specialty degree. There's not a lot of PE teachers. I was working construction that summer, and I didn't have health insurance, and I'm up on a roof, and I just started questioning, like, where am I going? I really need to get a teaching job.
Yeah.
And I forgot all about Hunter Tannersville and Patrick's communication with me. And he called me, I want to say, the 3rd to 4th week in August, right before
What
Labor
year?
Day.
You remember?
2007.
2007.
So in the summer of 2007, and that's when he gave me a phone call and said, hey, this job is open. Do you want it or not? I'll come up and interview you. So I said, all right, but I have nowhere to live. He said, you live with me until you find a spot.
Oh, wow.
So it was, basically I had like 2 or 3 days to prepare. I packed my car up and drove down for the first superintendent's conference day, not knowing a single person. Drove up the mountain road going, where am I? Where am I going? And then all of a sudden I remember coming into the town and I saw a restaurant and a restaurant and a restaurant. And I'm like, this school is supposed to be the same size as where I grew up. We only had one stoplight and a small gas station. But the tourism with the mountain, I didn't even realize Hunter Mountain was here. And then fast forward 15 years.
So you got the job.
Yeah.
And so the superintendent, sweetie, which he's one of our patients here, and it's wonderful to see his daughter, by the way.
Yeah, I
in
lived
college
with
now.
Lori and Molly for about a month and a half until I found my own place.
Wow. And then you brought the family.
Well, I met my wife here. She's local.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So you came here as a bachelor,
Yes.
right? With really very little means for it, but a lot of hope and a dream.
That's right.
And you needed benefits and so on, and so here you were, accepted the position, then met your wife who was...
And then I fell in love with elementary physical education, to be honest with you. And I miss it to this day. Like, I still question, what am I doing? I mean, that was the best job that I'll ever have as far as I'm concerned. But
And what was the next promotion then?
well, my wife kind of kept telling me, hey, I think you would be an excellent principal. And I'm like, I don't know. And I talked to Mrs. McCool. She was the principal at the time. And she's like, Nate, you should do it. And then I have a family member that's in education. He's also a superintendent. And he would talk to me at the family picnics like, you got to go to school. So I decided to go to St. Rose to get my
Master's degree?
It would be, I already had a master's degree
Okay.
in physical education, but it's a certificate of advanced study.
Okay, got it.
It's another 30 credit master's to be able to get
In order to be able to be certified to be a principal?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Correct. So I went ahead, I did that in St. Rose, and I really showed up to my first class, and I basically said, I don't really know why I'm here, but I'm here. And I ended up loving the classes and the conversations that took place, and really realizing the impact that you can have on the kids and how it ripples throughout a community. So I went into it not really thinking I was going to be in educational administration. I was just kind of doing it to see what it was like, and I really liked it. And it just so happened I graduated in April of 2016. That was the month that the twins came home. I graduated from that program, and there was change over in administration. So I just finished my degree. I applied, and I was offered the elementary
Principalship. For it. What did the kids call you?
Well, I'm still Coach Jones to a lot.
I thought so. That's what I meant.
So I got Coach Jones, Principal Jones, and now Superintendent Jones. Depends on.
But you still, to a lot of them, you're Coach.
Yes.
Coach Jones. So
Nurse Davis, Diane Davis at the elementary, she still has me in her phone as Coach Jones. She says, I'm not going to change it.
Okay,
I'm not
got it.
going to change it.
So then how many years were you the principal?
4.
For 4 years, and then Superintendent Vickers
Correct.
left.
She retired.
And so you had the opportunity, or I should say, the school district and the Board of Ed had the opportunity to make a decision to do a national search, or whether they're going to look at the bench that they have in the house. And however they did, they made a decision to ask you to be the new superintendent of schools based on history, performance, and obviously the respect of the students and so on, and the teachers. And so there you are. What a story, huh?
Yeah, it's been a heck of a time.
We are here with our interview with Superintendent Jones. And we're talking about now the responsibility that you had as superintendent to represent the district, to have to now integrate with all the other public officials in Greene County, to integrate with the other superintendents of different sized schools. And you then have a period of time, and then COVID came, right?
COVID was already here.
It was.
Yeah.
It was just the beginning. So
Yep. I started this last July. So on day 3 was when we got the memo that the district had to have a reopening plan that was board approved by July 30th, or, something like that.
Right,
We didn't
right,
know.
right,
Again,
right.
New York State's great. They give you a deadline, but don't give you what needs to exactly be in it.
So when you began then, before we all dealt with COVID, which would have been in January, February, all right, you were then in the position for about 6 months.
I was the elementary principal
Yes.
last year.
Mhm.
COVID hit while I was as the principal position.
Okay.
So at that time, I knew that I was potentially going to be the next superintendent. So kind of going in that the last phase of the school year last year when we were fully remote, Dr. Vickers was working with me, really trying to support me and
And
prepare
help you
me.
with the transition.
Correct.
For it. So you had that. So now you go right into the storm. And we as a country are in a once in a century pandemic. I oftentimes, when I'm reflecting to patients, that because I grew up in the 60s, I had some sense of disturbance in our country with the Vietnam War, the burning of Detroit, racial tensions. So we had some exposure to this, and then we had 9/11. But this is different. This one is turned out to be a total going in the dark. And then we had a political transition on top of that. Give me some of your reflections now that we're kind of sitting here without our mask because of full immunization. What's it been like?
Trying. It's, I guess, when you fly the airplane while you're building it,
Yeah.
there was no blueprint. There was no blueprint for leading a school district during a pandemic. So, does it make it difficult? Yes, but at the same time, there's nothing to compare past practice to. So it was really everyday conversations, the amount of communication I've had with every different stakeholder is what's truly led us to be able to get our kids into school.
Yeah.
Really, communication's the biggest key piece to this, and the support that we, the school, not just myself, that we've had from this school community has been second to none. And I say that because, as you mentioned earlier, I work with other superintendents,
Yeah.
and I hear a lot of the stories that have happened. Hunter Tannersville school community has been fantastic. They have been understanding in times of defeat, right? When you got to make the phone calls and say, I'm really sorry to let you know, a day before Thanksgiving that your child has to quarantine. And we've been through a lot as a school community, and I think our community's done a tremendous job of navigating this
Sure.
roller coaster that we're on.
So you've had to be able to coach your administrative team. You then have your teachers. You then have your board. You then have the students, and you have moms and dads. And then you have to coordinate with county guidelines, which is coming down from state guidelines, which is then coming from national guidelines.
Correct.
And somehow you're supposed to get sense of clarity on that, prioritizing and sending out a message at the time that the airplane is being flown.
Yeah.
And so you do your best, and because of the type of community we have, they had your back and trusted you in your leadership.
I would say yes.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. I can tell you from being the pharmacist in this community that you're highly respected, and everybody felt that they a little bit better when everybody got vaccinated, but that the ship is moving forward. And I would find it very, very difficult. I would find difficult of getting mixed signals from the regulators, policy makers, on when I can open, what can I do, when does sport start, when it doesn't start, and in effect you have to go through that gray area. And if you go against regulations, you're in trouble.
Yep.
So you did one heck of a job. And so here we are now, and you made the decision of opening for the students, right? Tell me how that process goes.
Well, mid-July last year, when we got all the information, and I can say when I closed with our district gathering in June of last year, when Dr. Vickers was leaving and she was turning over the throne to myself, I had made it known to everybody that my goal in September was to get the kids back in school. That's been my priority. And little did I know how difficult it was going to be. What you find is there's the balance of safety and perception of safety, and also the same time of and I don't want to say hysteria, that's not the correct word, but the overall anxiety that people felt because we were so unsure of the virus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we dealt with people that were way over here that the disease wasn't real and or they didn't want any of the safety protocols, and we need to be back every day as long as we can. And then the other side were the people that were very nervous, probably rightfully so, with medical backgrounds, and very, anxiety takes a lot out of you, right? And so it's not just with our community or the students, but also the faculty and staff.
Yeah.
I have to have them in the building to be able to go and bring the kids in.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of work and communication and discussions that we had to have as a whole to get people to take the deep breath and say, you know what, we've taken all of our information, we've made it happen so kids can be socially distanced in school, our cleaning regimens. I mean, we've done a phenomenal job, and it's not me, it's not the building
you couldn't be. It had to be the whole team.
It has been it's been a teamwork approach, and negligent to say prior to this year, I didn't realize the importance of all the different stakeholders within the school building itself.
Yeah.
Your bus drivers, your custodians, your support staff, and the key role that they have played to make sure that our kids could get to school. Our teachers, second to none. They are phenomenal. And I can tell you, the stress level that has gone on our teachers is just astronomical. And the big thing, Ed, is in a regular typical year, those kids are with that teacher all day long, or they're rotating and they're seeing that teacher every day. Mm-hmm. It's a connection. It's being able to communicate. And what happened is we've had students that are fully remote. And what happens, the teacher, not always the necessary of having to teach remote, but not having their eyes on that student to make sure that they're okay and that they're doing what they need to, right? Teachers take it very hard on themselves when their students aren't achieving to where they know they can be.
Yeah.
When they're with them all day long, they have more of the control or the guidance to help that child through those situations. Now you remove a student from the picture, right? We started in September as 2 days a week. The other 3 days a week were fully remote for students.
Yeah.
So you're talking a lot of time that these kids used to be in your possession, right? They were in your classroom and they had that connection and they could be that, parental figure. Right? That's a big part of education.
Absolutely. And
loco parentis.
So what you're really talking about also is there is the physical issue of safety and reducing the possibilities of transmission and getting sick. But you have the emotional and the mental health components.
Correct.
So the teachers are going through their sense of loss, their sense of pain, and their sense of emotions, and oftentimes feeling alone. Many of the teachers are also parents, so they are doing it with like a double emotions for it. and then we have the kids. And one of the things that I think, being on top of trying to follow the COVID situation nationwide and worldwide as a public health challenge, is that the emotional challenge that we're going to have with our kids cannot be underestimated. They oftentimes have been in an isolated situation with cell phones and computers. It's been their socialization, it's been their babysitter, it's been their educator. It's a lot of pressure, and then they're coming out for it. So one of your biggest challenges is going to be getting these kids in so they're emotionally healthy, physically. And boy, your background, by the way, in physical education, the more we can get these kids outside being educated, every study that I read shows enormous success with that. And here we are in the mountains, right? So I challenge you to see if you can't do some outdoor education here to help the kids for it. But what a time for it. I wanted to just shift over a little bit from COVID and so on, and talk about two things, the power of education as you see it. And then I wanted to share with you my observations of the students that are graduating from our central school and what I see on their readiness for life for it. So share with me just some of your thoughts of what kind of education you think are coming out of the school that you are the superintendent of, and the power of education.
So Ed, we're unique in the sense of our size and the support of the Board of Education and community has of what we put into that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can look at it as we're a public school in a private setting. And these kids are not a number, they're not a class, they're an individual. Right from the time they're in pre-K all the way through 12th grade, they get individual attention throughout, right? And so what's that breed that, you know, that's promoting excellence right there. We have students, whether they're going into college or into careers, they are graduating HTC, ready to, I mean, think about some of the people that have graduated and what they're doing now. And it's
impressive.
It's
It's impressive both for self-esteem as well as for academia.
But that also goes back to what I was talking about before, the COVID is the connection that they have with teachers, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you ask these kids about the teachers that they've connected with and how they've helped drive them and promoted their, you know, alongside, right? It takes a whole community to raise a child. And that's what we have here.
I can tell you from the interns that I've had who have been graduates, they have all done well. And I was wondering, I've been asking this for it, and why is that? I have a couple of observations. I think any of the students who are maybe falling behind a little bit, the school district reaches out early for early intervention to try to see if we can kind of get them back on the road. You won't get that in the urban market where there's 30, 40 students sometimes to a class. And that TLC that you talked about, the ownership of the teachers that they have for the students. And you also, what I think I'm feeling is that there's a culture that has developed from the preschool, that we have a responsibility to try to produce healthy, productive adults to go out into the world. And the outcome is what I would see. So I think we're doing a darn good job. And how about the migration of from now, post-COVID, of the families that are moving up here? That's a little challenging?
We haven't had an increase in enrollment yet.
Uh-huh.
We stayed relatively flat. We were definitely, in July, planning on a big boom. But the housing market's been, you know, people are buying. People are buying. I just hasn't yet seen if it's going to turn over and in turn increase enrollment. The analytics, the recent analytics that we just received shows that there's a 5-year trend of an increase in enrollment, about 30 to 40 students within the next 5 years.
Okay. So the growth is important for the tax base. and many of the high schools and the primary educations throughout the Hudson Valley have been nosediving, as you know, and many decisions are being made about consolidation and so on. With that potential of growth, we're going to be in good shape for it and everything else. So you take that and you go, okay, school district, let's be creative. Let's try to continue this. And under your leadership, I think that they will feel very comfortable for it. I had a couple of other things just off from you. And when you look at young adults today, and I'm talking about in the 20s, maybe 30s, they're in a situation of they have to be a little stunned on the world that they are going to be the future. And they got to be a little angry of what they have seen and so on. And it's very easy to wrap them, hit them with, they're always self-absorbed, or they're into their social media, blah, blah, blah. I have seen a different side, and I wanted to share with you. What I have seen is because I have the luxury of being in a pharmacy, I get to see the locals, I get to see the ones who come back from college to see the folks, I get to see the individuals coming from New York City, I get to see the people coming from around the world. We have a big international community here and everything else. And I came up with a couple threads that I found very, very fascinating. If you listen and are present, they will not come up to me. They're suspicious of me. They need to know I'm authentic in order for them to feel comfortable connecting. I have to reach out as a senior and an adult to them. But when I do, here's what I kind of see. I see an equality between the men and the women that are very, very healthy that we did not have in past years. Women put the line in the sand of, economically, we can survive, we can do well. Women are oftentimes now, or young women, are the valedictorian, the salutatorians of the high school classes. They are leading in college and enrollment. And so that equality has been very healthy. They're very environmentally sensitive of the communities that they want to live in and how they want to live. They're not prejudiced, which I find fascinating. I don't think religion doesn't matter, racism, and other things to worry about. And collectively, they're not homophobic. I go, these are really great values to have on top of the educational system. So I'm very encouraged for the future. What do you see?
I mirror everything you just said. I think the school districts in itself has promoted acceptance. I think our younger children are very aware that people are different, and that we are okay with it. And it's to me, even if we're a rural community and we're predominantly a white population, everyone still has differences.
Yeah.
Right. And the students that are graduating and leaving, I've seen it. I've seen it right on through, because the children are growing up with their friends, and some of them, just because they don't look like you and I, and it's been all the way steady right through their whole education. So yeah, I agree that.
So the observation.
This generation, right? They talk about the millennials and this and that, but every generation has their strengths, and they're definitely.
So what I'm observing of the 20s and the 30s, you're seeing the push down to that next generation that are not only fine with those kind of value systems, but probably add more. I think that's fantastic. It really, really is. That means that our American society
We're making improvements.
are making improvements that are important for it. Well, throw that over. Tell me, you what's your hobbies?
What are my hobbies?
Yeah.
Well, besides being a dad, that's my favorite. That's my favorite thing. Is outdoors. I love to hunt, fish, and really work around my house. I work on my house every weekend. That's a hobby of mine.
Yeah.
From gardening to just around the house. I love landscaping. I hunt. This weekend is opening day of turkey season, so Saturday morning I'll be out.
Trout season too.
Yep. Yeah.
So your hobbies are meditative things, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah. I love anything I do outside.
Yeah, and nature, in communion with nature.
Correct.
And around, what about sports?
So I love golf. Love to play golf. It's the most frustrating and / relaxing thing I've ever done. I don't know how you can have frustration and relaxation in one sport. And, growing up, I played the traditional basketball and soccer and baseball.
Excellent for it. Why don't we end just on today and just give me your thoughts on the future, how you see the American future, where we are and where we're going.
Stop focusing on politics and look what's happening locally with our school. Right? We are producing great kids that are going to be going out there. And if you get stuck with the media and the news, you're going to make yourself upset.
Yeah.
Come and look what's going on in HTC. Look what's going on in Wyndham. We have good things going on in these local communities, great support, and our kids are graduating with a head on their shoulders. Well-rounded people. They're professionals as they're walking out in 12th grade.
And what you're saying, they are going to be prepared and flexible to adapt to a changing America, and they're going to be part of the soul of that new America.
Correct.
And we believe that this generation might be the best and prepared for that. I coming out of COVID, and what I see is no one cannot just not change in some shape or form. You cannot do it. You just cannot come out of this trauma in many ways and not deal. Some are going to deal with more challenges than others. But I also see a higher sense of consciousness that we are here to help others, that we are here to be part of the solution, and in a sense of kindness, and it becomes contagious. We had 12, 14 volunteers for the vaccination. No one did that so that they could put it on their resume or be recognized or get paid. They did it because it felt good to help be part of the community. I think we're going to see more and more of that, and I think the generation, the students that you are teaching, I think are going to follow right into that road. But we have to also show examples of what that looks like.
And I can chime in with what it looked like a few years ago. Right, was as a whole culture, not just here, but was entitlement. Right, like this is what we have to, this is what we get to do, and that was not to be taken away from people. Yeah. And what COVID-19 did was pulled everything out from everybody. We no longer had, and we could not do what we did before.
Yeah.
So to the senior class this year, right, they've lost the most. They have just had a tough year, and they've been so resilient. More resilient than you would ever imagine a senior class, where they're at the point now where they understand that at any point COVID could derail one of their plans. And they have shown this resilience and that they are okay with it, that it's not a guarantee, right? So we've all learned that things aren't guaranteed anymore. Right, we wake up in the morning with a little bit different of a frame of mind.
Yeah.
Like if my phone doesn't ring by 7 o'clock, I'm thankful because that means that everyone's going to school that day. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, that's been a tough thing.
Yeah.
Anyone that texts me between 5:30 and 7 in the morning, I'm like, oh boy, please, let's make sure the kids can get to school.
This is great.
So I think COVID has taught us all to be a little bit more thankful for what we do have, and that things aren't really a guarantee anymore.
Isn't that great? Look, thank you so much for coming today, and
thank you for all you've done for our community. Get the vaccine and
well, we're trying to be part of it for it. I wanted to just thank today Nate Jones, for our new superintendent of the Hunter Tannersville Central School, for joining us. He's working many hours. I've been here every day, but we do it because we care about the mountaintop community, and we're going to continue to do it. And I got to tell you, congratulations for the job that you've done.
Appreciate it. Thank you.